Hey guys, we're back on the XR100. Just still going over it with a fine tooth comb to find out what all it needs. Next step here is we're going to check the engine compression, cylinder compression. Real easy. You take the spark plug out, inspect it while you're at it. This one looks like it might be running a little bit rich, but we'll address that with carburation. And get yourself, you don't need a big fancy one, a simple cylinder compression gauge. Got a rubber tip on it so you can jam it in there and make a good seat. And then you get an assistant who will kick the engine over 5 or 6 times and we'll get a reading on the gauge. So I will go ahead and get the gauge in place and ask my assistant to go ahead and give it a good 5 or 6 kicks. Okay, so we came up with, I don't know if I had a super good seal on there, a little over 125 PSI. You know what, that's not bad at all for one of these. I think, you know, ideally when they're new, brand new, they'll hit 150. But, you know, this thing's still kicking way over 100. I'm happy with that. This thing is going to run just fine at that compression. So that's how you do that. You know what? If you're looking at one of these and you run into one that's got real low compression, don't let that scare you away from it. You know, use it as a bargaining chip and get that price down to where you can afford to put a new piston, rings, and cylinder on this thing. They're really not that expensive. And then while you're at it, you can just put a big bore kit on it and make this thing a 120. I've done that before. You can do that whole kit and that whole job. It takes a couple hours. And you bump this thing up to 120 with a brand new top end on it, and for about $350 if you're doing it yourself. So don't let that scare you away. Again, just using it as a bargaining chip for making sure you don't overpay for it. I'm not going to tear this one down and put a big bore on it. It just doesn't need it. I'm happy with that compression. This thing is going to run fantastic with 125 PSI. It may even have more. We were kicking that by hand. You get that on the ground and kick it with your foot, you probably get a little more out of it, maybe up near 140. So anyway, that's how you do a compression test. Real important to know that engine is solid and has good compression. And you know what? If it's not smoking, if it's running when you buy it and it's not smoking and you drive it around, get it nice and hot, and it's not smoking out of the tailpipe, it's probably got good compression anyway. There's other indicators for low compression, that being one of them. You're gonna get a lot of smoke out of that tailpipe. It's gonna look like a 2-stroke. Another one, it just won't have much power at all. But again, fairly easy fix, a little more detailed job than a lot of this stuff, but certainly doable in your garage with basic tools. So there you go. That's a compression test.